सा धरती पे हरियावली जिथे मेरा सतगुर बैठा आए से जंत पै हरियावले जिनी मेरा सतगुर देखया जाए हर सतगुर मेलो दया कर जन नानक धोवे पाए।
There is a light deep within every human being, a power that sustains every soul in the universe. Immersed in the world, one is oblivious to this light. Until we encounter a realized soul, a living spiritual master. Then we get a glimpse of this light and are drawn to its extraordinary presence. This is Dera Baba Jaimal Singh, the home of the Bias masters, whose presence and grace have transformed this once lonely wilderness into a flourishing township. A township built on love, devotion, and selfless service. Every year, millions of people visit the Dera. What draws them here? What compels them to leave their busy lives in the world to visit this spiritual sanctuary year after year? Each person has their own story to tell. The enigma of love that is experienced under the guiding light of a true master.
I was going back to Bias after many years. I had been so caught up in my own world that I didn't realize how much time had slipped by. But recently, I began to feel empty inside. A feeling I can't explain. I have everything anyone could ask for. A loving family, a good job, a comfortable home. But I was longing for more meaning in my life. And I missed my master, Hazur, more than ever. I felt it was time to go back to the Dera to reconnect with my real self. Bias Station. I couldn't believe I was really here. It looked so different from how I remembered it. The moment I got off the train, I was greeted by the welcoming faces of the Dera Sevadars, volunteers who work in the service of the Master. They were ever ready to extend a helping hand. It was comforting to see that some things hadn't changed at all. The sevadars took me to one of the Dera buses that were arriving every few minutes. The bus was filled with people from all over India and abroad. There was a feeling of great anticipation in the air. Everyone was coming here for only one purpose: to be in the loving presence of a master. The short bus ride took me back to the days when I used to come here as a child with my parents sitting in a tonga, traveling along the 5-kilometer road to the Dera.
ले चल हो सजना अमरपुर ले चल हो सजना अमरपुर की संकरी गलियां अड़बड़ है चलना संत समाज सभा जहाँ बैठी वही पुरुष अपना अमरपुर ले चल हो सजना.
As we entered the gates, I met with my brother, who is a sevadar living here. After settling in, he took a few of us around the colony.
The Dera is named after its founder, Baba Jaimal Singh, who was the first of the Biast spiritual masters. Unfortunately, no photographs of Baba Jaimal Singh exist. In the year 1891, Baba Jaimal Singh settled here along the banks of the river Beas. He came here to carry out the work of his master, Soami Ji Maharaj, who had asked him to spread the Sant Mat teachings in Punjab. In those days, this area was a deserted wasteland. In fact, many people thought it was haunted, but Baba Jaimal Singh was attracted to the quiet surroundings. He made a home for himself in a small cave where he sat in meditation for days at a time. Eventually, this place came to be known as the Dera, meaning dwelling or settlement. His disciples tried to persuade him to look for a better area, but he told them that this very place would one day become a major center of spiritual activity. Today, 120 years later, the truth of his words stretches out before us.
The beauty of the Dera had always remained in my mind, but I had forgotten how transporting it was to be here. It felt like a different realm, far away from my worldly life. I was deeply moved by a sense of peace. I felt connected to everyone, like I was with family. It was like returning home after years of lonely separation. I realized what a void this absence had created in my heart. It inspired me to make the very most of the few precious days I had here.
Every morning at 3 o'clock, a siren resounds throughout the Dera, calling the disciples to wake up for their morning meditation and begin a day devoted to spiritual life. From the very beginning, life at the Dera has been centered around meditation, Satsang, and seva, that is, selfless service. The Dera is a reflection of both the teachings of the masters and the seekers' enduring pursuit of spirituality. One of the Biast masters, Maharaj Charan Singh, often said, Dera Baba Jaimal Singh has grown to what it is today out of the seeds of the master's love.
If you see a seed of a banyan tree, it takes it time to grow to become a banyan tree. And 1,000 people then sit under the shade to enjoy that spirituality. Soami ji has come and he had sown that seed. And it is just growing and growing and growing. And we are enjoying the shade, that's all.
The history of the Dera is the life story of great saints who have dedicated their lives to nurturing sincere seekers on the path to God realization. They teach us that the purpose of life is to realize God. To achieve this, the masters teach a simple technique of meditation to connect one's consciousness to the spirit, the word or the shabd found within the human body.
Christ ने क्या सी if thy eye be single thy whole body shall be full of light. अगर ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਖ ਵਾਲੇ ਬਣ ਜਾਵੋ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿਸਮ ਨੂਰ ਔਰ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਭਰ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ। ਸੋ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਉਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਜਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਔਰ ਨਾਮ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਹੈ। आवाज़ के जरिए अंदरों घर का रुख कायम करना है, प्रकाश के जरिए रूहानी सफलता करना है, मंजिल दर मंजिल अपने घर चले जाना है। अगर साड़ी आत्मा अखा पिछे आके उस शब्द का चोगा चुगना शुरू कर देवे, उस अमृत को अपने अंदरों पीना शुरू कर देवे, ये हमेशा वास्ते दे दिया बंधना तो आज़ाद हो जाएगी।
To talk about the development of the Dera is easy, but it is impossible to describe the glory of the masters who have brought it into being. They are the heart and soul of the Dera, and without them, nothing here would have any meaning. In 1903, Baba Jaimal Singh passed away. He appointed as his successor Maharaj Savan Singh, an engineer in the Indian Army. Baba Jaimal Singh once said, "My successor will have greater power than I. I have lived in this world keeping myself concealed. He will reveal himself in all his glory." His power and spiritual splendor will be much more than mine. Through him, hundreds of thousands of souls will attain salvation, and every village and city will resound with the greeting, Radha Soami. When Maharaj Savan Singh became the master, the only structures that existed here were the well, a small room for the master, 2 satsang halls, and a small building known as Babaji ki Kothriyan to accommodate visitors. These simple structures became the foundation of present-day Dera. At that time, the surrounding area consisted of barren land. Maharaj Charan Singh spoke of the early days of how these small developments came about during Baba Jaimal Singh's time.
You may have read somewhere when Maharaji came here for the first time, because he was in the service, in military services. And he said there used to be no charpai and no bed at all. So they had straw mats. So they will just pull straw mat and under some tree they will just sleep in summer months. And then there used to be no water here because there was no well. And in the morning he saw Bibi, who was in the service of Babaji Maharaj, bringing water for Babaji from somewhere, see, with a pitcher on her head. So Maharaji was absolutely new to the place. He didn't know anything about this place at all. Then he asked Bibi, from where do you bring it? She said, I bring from this village. And village is little quite far, you see this. Now our colony is spread so much, so it looks very near. But then when the all jungle and bushes, so it used to be practically to feel quite at a distance. Maharaji said, I very hesitatingly, a lot of thinking, then I requested Babaji Maharaj, if you permit me, I would like to dig a well here so that Bibi doesn't have to go all the way to the village for the water. And so many people come, they'll make use of it. Babaji said, today I am here, tomorrow I may be somewhere else. And I don't want to bind myself to this particular place. So why dig a well? I have a straw hut and I can build anywhere if I go anywhere else. Then Maharajji said, I don't want to bind you at all to this place. Once you drink the water of that well and you can leave this place whenever you want. I don't want to bind you to the place. Then Maharaji said, Babaji just smiled. He said, all right, I won't bind myself to this place, but you'll be bound to this place. But anyway, well was dug. But he says, I never realized that it has a very deep-rooted meaning behind what Babaji is saying. Then after him, you see, then he realized what all it means. So slowly and slowly this whole colony is springing up, you see. And now you can see what has come, how the flower blooms.
Maharaj Sawan Singh, affectionately known as the Great Master, travelled from town to town, village to village, carrying the message of the saints. Because of his inspiring and simple discourses, his dynamic and loving personality, Sant began to take root and grow, both across India and abroad. As a result, more and more seekers came to the Dera to listen to his teachings. As the Sangat grew, more facilities and buildings were built. The Great Master, whom we could call the first architect of the Dera, designed and supervised the construction of most of these buildings. He stood for countless hours, directing the engineers and masons, giving his personal attention to the smallest details. The Satsang Ghar stands as a testament to his engineering skill.
Every time I see this building, it's hard to believe that it was built in just 3 years. I read in the books that a highly regarded contractor and associate of the Great Master had offered to build the entire Satsang Ghar for free. But the Great Master kindly declined. He wanted every one of his sevadars to have a chance to take part in its construction. Their smallest effort was precious to him. And sure enough, that is how it was built.
That legacy continues till today. This colony has been built brick by brick by the selfless dedication of the masters and their Sangat. The stream of love that flows through them as seva is the lifeblood that has built the Dera.
We met some people who spoke about their unforgettable days with the great master.
1934. I was born in 1926. The foundation of the Satsang was laid in 1934. It was the great master who took on his head the first mitti ki tokri, and it was an occasion. After that, we used to go every day for seva to the Satsang. After satsang, the great master would come every day to supervise the work. We were very, very eager that he see us doing seva. And when he was not there, the sevadar, because we were little children, he would give us just one brick. But when we saw the master coming, we would request him, please give me 2 bricks, so that at least he sees me doing good seva. And it so happened, on one day, he passed by and he saw me. And he said, Kako, tu bhi seva kar rahi? Oh, my day was made. And after that, you know what it means. I would go, I would request him to give me that, and we did seva every day till the satsang was complete.
The great master was deeply moved by the dedication of his sevadars. He told them, I have no words to express my gratitude and happiness. I am full of many failings and shortcomings. The growth of satsang and the sangat is not because of any ability or power in me. It is the achievement of that great saint, Baba Jaimal Singh Maharaj, who spent all his life in meditation. All this development is the greatness of that saint. It is the fruit of his meditation. Babaji is doing everything. I am only his slave, and I am grateful to him for appointing me as a humble servant of the Sangat. These words of profound humility reveal just a glimpse of the great master's sublime nature. One of his disciples, Dr. Julian Johnson, attempted to describe the great master in the following words. And how I wish I could really describe him to you. But did you ever try to describe a beautiful sunset? No king could be more graceful and dignified. And yet that dignity is so tempered with sweet humility that one is drawn to him. His voice is low and clear as silver bells. His smile is extremely gracious, and one can see that his heart holds only loving kindness for all. He is to be seen and not described. Since seeing him, I can think of nothing else. His image lingers before me all the while. I have never seen such a face before, nor imagined there was one like it among the sons of men. If ever there was a face combining old age with beauty, majesty and calm power, it is his. But beyond all of that, there is a sort of spiritual radiance which no words can describe, but which gives one a feeling of deep peace, as if the discords of earth were no longer possible in his presence. As you look into his face, you lose all desire to talk, even ask questions. You simply absorb the light. His voice is vibrant with love, and his smile seems as if it lights up the room.
Now, I must tell you my first impression, because I didn't know much about Sant Mat. My first impression when he came out of this car, he was shining, he was radiant. And funnily enough, what I thought was, oh my God. And then he walked very stately up the stairs, and everybody bowed to him. I was feeling a little hesitant, and then he looked at me. And although he was tired, he straight away asked Bibi Lajo to bring us in, and he talked to us. The next morning, I heard my first satsang. I had many doubts, and I'd written them all down. And the master did ask me that if there was anything I'd like to ask, and I couldn't think of anything. But at the satsang, he answered all my questions. All my doubts were cleared. Oh, his satsangs were very long, and he told beautiful stories, which we all enjoyed, and he laughed. His laugh was beautiful. He used to shake with laughter and tell our stories. And we used to sit quite close to the stage. I have something to say about the great master, that he wrote beautiful letters to me. And in the last letter, which was in 47, a year before, or a few months before, he wrote that मैं तुम्हारी संभाल कर रहा हूँ और करूँगा. I am looking after you, and I will continue looking after you. And Babaji's fulfilled that. He's looking after me in my old age, and I'm very grateful to him for everything that I'm getting.
The great master was renowned for his kindness and compassion. If someone confessed their failings to him, he forgave them. Then he lovingly advised them to attend to their meditation with love and devotion and not repeat their mistakes. He was well aware of the shortcomings of his disciples, but never spoke of their weaknesses, even indirectly. He never hurt anyone's feelings. He used to say, "Saints never look at our failings. If they did, who would come to them?" Like all great saints, he only saw their souls. He would say, "Every soul is virtuous. Our eyes and hearts are at fault if we fail to see a person's worth, for God Himself sits in every human heart." The great master's satsangs would generally last 2 hours or more and would often be held twice a day, in the morning and late afternoon. His satsangs were often interactive and at times became question and answer sessions. Sometimes, someone would recite a verse from the holy books and the great master would give an explanation to the Sangat. At other times, a disciple would recite a poem written for the great master and he would lovingly listen. The great master's daily schedule of satsang, overseeing the development of the Dera, supervising seva activities, and dealing with administration matters were only some of the duties that took up his day. He had extraordinary willpower and a great capacity for work. His personal comfort, convenience, and health were always secondary to him. He seemed oblivious to physical hardship while carrying out his duties. Nothing could keep him from serving the Lord. During his mastership, the Dera expanded considerably as more properties were acquired to accommodate the rapidly growing Sangat. Although the great master was the legal owner of all Dera assets, he never used them for himself or his family. Looking upon himself as merely a guardian of these resources, he worked hard to develop them for the benefit of his Sangat. The great master led a very simple life. He barely ate food and he hardly slept. His disciples were always concerned about his health, but he would assure them, saying, "Not to worry. The nectar of Naam will not let the body become weak. Naam sustains the entire creation. It is not difficult for Naam to sustain the human body, provided one is fully attuned to it."
सतगुर है रंगरेज चुनर मेरी रंगदारी सतगुर है रंगरेज चुनर मेरी रंग लारी स्याही रंग छड़ाए के रे देओ में जीठा रंग तो दिन दिन होत सुरंग सतगुर है रंगरेज चुनर मेरी रंग लारी पाव के कुंड नह के जल में प्रेम रंग दई बोर जस की चास लगाए के रे खूब रंगी चक चोर सतगुर है रंगरेज चुनर मेरी रंग डारी सतगुरु ने चुनरी रंगी रे, सतगुरु चतुर सुजान, सब कुछ उन पर वार दूरे, तन मन तन और प्राण सतगुरु है रंग रेज, चुनर मेरी रंग डारी, कह कबीर रंग रेज गुरु रे, मुझ पर हुए दयाल, शीतल चुनरी और केरे, पई हूँ मगन निहाल, सतगुरु है रंग रेज, चुनर मेरी रंग डारी, सतगुरु है रंग रेज, चुनर मेरी रंग डारी।
In a reminiscent mood, Huzur Maharaj Ji spoke about the great master's unending schedule.
All what I talk, what I hear is nothing but the great master. Every particle of this place smells of him. He gives us that fragrance of his love and devotion, what he has done in this colony.
Yes, he was much more busy than I am, I must tell you. In the morning he would go out, see all the fields, work going on, and with every department he would be in touch. And then he would sit in the office, he would attend to his whole mail right in the office. Professor Bhatnagar's father was there, in charge of the office correspondence. And then people would be coming, and whole day it would be interviewed till 1:30, 2. We really would go and remind him so many times for lunch, because we won't be served meals unless he served. Then in the evening he used to hold satsang. And sometime in the morning he would go and sit in the seva. And then so much Dera was developing, you see, in a very developing stage. And so many meetings with engineers, and the meetings will go on till 12 at night, 1 at night. So it went on. I mean, he was a very busy person, a very busy person. And he had very long tours also. But he won't fix any time. He would say, all right, I'll come on a tour for 10 days. And then if one place he's holding satsang, those people are anxious for him to extend his stay, he would stay another 1 day, 2 days. And then he will go to another city, another city. So it was a tour for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. But no particular timing was fixed, you see, beforehand. He traveled a lot. So he was mostly traveling to Lahore and Mint, Mumbai, Multan side, Karachi side, and then Rawalpindi, Peshawar side, Ahmedabad side. That was his main field of satsang. And then he devoted also a lot of time to Sarsa, his farm. And he would go for 2 months, 1 month. He would stay there and look after the children and the farm and their progress and everything. He would give full attention to the farm and everything. He was very busy. I don't think anybody can work harder than him. His one leg was little short of the other leg, but he had no problem in walking because we could never keep pace with him. Whenever I know he used to go to the hills, and I had sometimes the opportunity to follow him with his stick or umbrella, but we could never keep pace with him. He was walking so fast, and it was very difficult for anybody to keep pace with him. He was so fast. Even at that age, you see, when he was 87, 88, 90.
Actually, Great Master has labored a lot to spread Santma's teaching. You just visit those centers which he has created for the spreading of the teaching, you will simply be amazed how can we reach to these places. I go to this in Himachal Pradesh, now it is known. Very rough roads, now they are roads. At that time there were no roads. Sometimes he will be on a pony, sometimes he will be walking. With his staff you see at his back, luggage on their head. And no place to stay, no rest houses, no sanitary convenience you see. And just a nightfall, this small hut comes and probably the man is staying up and the shop is down and that will be vacated for him. Maharaj Ji never, you see, said a single word that he is uncomfortable. And this is how he has spread his teachings. Nobody can reach those places. You see, now after 2 years or 3 years, I am just in my comfortable car, I can hardly reach there. After 2-3 years, I get a chance to visit such places. The centers which he has made, beautiful centers. And they are all simple people full with love and devotion. And that is all the seed which he has sown. But slowly and slowly Maharaj Ji just penetrated into their heart. And now whole hills you see are singing his praises. That is the seed you see which has sown, which is springing up now.
The great master's tours were rigorous and the weather often extreme. On one occasion, in a single day and a half, he travelled over 350 kilometers by car, visited 6 different towns and gave 3 satsangs, one which was unscheduled and 2 hours long, and also attended a wedding. When the great master thanked the driver who had been with him since his second stop, the driver said, "Sir, please remember me again. Though I am only 30 years old, I am utterly exhausted from trying to keep up with you. You did not eat or sleep, yet you do not seem tired. You are not a human being." At that time, the great master was over 80 years old. Dr. Julian Johnson wrote these words about the great master's tours and his activities. The dear master shows the effect of prolonged strain, continuous hard work with almost no time for rest, day and night. We begged him to consider his health. He smiled and made only a partial promise. When we told him that there would be plenty of work to be done here 1,000 years from now, he laughed and said, "Yes, no doubt." Once, when Great Master was not well, his disciples begged him to rest at home and not go to Satsang. He replied, "The more this body is utilized in seva, the better. After all, it will be consigned to flames one day." At Satsang, his face was so radiant and his voice so powerful that no one ever suspected he was not well.
शिष्य का माना सत गुरु, गुर झिड़कें लख बार, सहजो द्वार ना छोड़िए, यही धार ना धार। गुर दर्शन कर सहज आ, गुर का कीजै ध्यान, गुर की सेवा कीजिए, तजिए कुल अभिमान। गुर सो कछु ना दुराये, गुर स्यों झूठ ना बोले, बुरी भली खोटी खरी, गुर आगे सब खोल। सहजो गुर रक्षा करें, मिटें सब दुख दुंद, मन की जाने सब गुर, कहाँ छिपावे अंध। सहजो गुर कृपा करी, कहा कहूँ मैं खोल, रोम रोम फुलत भई, मुखे नया वे बोल।
2 weeks before the great master passed away, he called in Sardar Bahadur Jagat Singh, the retired vice principal of an agricultural college, and told him that he would be the successor. Sardar Bahadur Ji said to his beloved master, "This emperor's throne befits only an emperor. May you live with us forever. I am only a slave." The great master lovingly gazed at him and told him that these were the commands from above. Sardar Bahadur Ji, with tears in his eyes, could only bow his head in submission. On the 2nd of April, 1948, after 45 years of service to the Sangat, the great master left this world at the age of 90. From his early years, Sardar Bahadur Jagat Singh was infused with a rare honesty, purity and humility. And because of this, even in college, his friends addressed him as Guruji. During Sardar Bahadur Ji's nearly 20 years of service at an agricultural college, written reviews were full of admiration for him. The director of agriculture remarked, "No praise of him could be too high. This grand old man of the college carries great weight with the students and with whom he comes in contact." As a disciple, Sardar Bahadur Jagat Singh was deeply devoted to meditation and seva. He was a perfect example of how a true disciple should live his life. Whenever he was with the great master, he would sit quietly in a corner and absorb his master's presence. Not once did he ask him a question and never initiated a conversation with him. Sardar Bahadur Ji faced an immense task when he became the master. The Sangat was overwhelmed with grief after the passing away of the great master. People couldn't bear to return to the Dera. Some sections of the Sangat even broke away. Confusion and doubt filled the hearts of many. Maharaj Charan Singh once related his own experience.
I remember when he became master, actually you see, it's very difficult for the satsangis to come to the Dera after the death of the master, because we are so attached to the great master, and this whole place had so much association with the great master. Each and every building, every place, where we used to play with him, like here, Satsang and all that. So to come to the colony without him is something very hard for any disciple, you see. So naturally, I was also feeling very depressed after the death of the great master. And I didn't come to Bias for about 6-7 months. And Sardar Bahadur went to Satsang. And he asked me that you didn't come to Bias. I couldn't say anything. Not that we didn't respect him, I loved him. And I had tears in my eyes. I said, I can't stand that place of the great master. He said, you are fortunate, you can afford not to come, but I can't escape from that place. I even can't bear it without him, that place, but I can't even leave that place. So next day I came along with him there.
Within a short time, Sardar Bahadur Ji's compassion, dedication to serve, and inspiring satsangs drew the Sangat back to the Dera.
Once when I was here at the Dera, Sardar Bahadur was sitting in his office. In those days, there was a long veranda near the great master's house, and I was standing, not visible to him physically, somewhere near the Nichiko buildings. And I'm feeling very sorry for myself, lonesome. I was not mature enough to accept anyone in his place. And he called me Villaggio and he said, go there, you'll find Kamal standing there. And you go and ask her how she is, otherwise she'll feel that the great master is not here, no one's looking after her. It was, like a shock, because that was what I was thinking.
Although he was not well during the 3 years that he was master, Sardar Bahadur Ji labored tirelessly to serve the Lord. On the 23rd of October, 1951, at the age of 67, he passed away. In his will, he appointed Maharaj Charan Singh as his successor. At the age of 35, Maharaj Charan Singh humbly accepted the responsibility of becoming the next spiritual guide in the line of the Beas masters. In his inaugural speech, he requested everyone to look upon him as their younger brother and to help him serve the Sangat. He said, I do not consider myself worthy of putting on the turban of such great saints, but compelled by the Sangat's love and faith in Huzur Maharaj Ji, I have submitted myself to the Sangat. Using his experience as a lawyer, one of the most important changes that Maharaj Charan Singh put into place was the registration of a charitable trust society. After that, all the Dera funds and assets were held by this trust. Maharaj Charan Singh, who later became affectionately known as Huzur Maharaj Ji, kept the torch of spirituality burning brightly. Without concern for his own comfort, he selflessly spread the message of love and liberation day after day, year after year, without ceasing. As a result of his extensive travels, his enlightening discourses, and his personal charisma, the teachings spread to almost every part of India and around the world.
पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे, संत पधारे, संत पधारे, संत पधारे, संत पधारे, पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे, कर सिमरन पव सागर तारे, कर सिमरन पव सागर तारे, संत पधारे, पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे, एहे संत है पर उपकारी, शरण आए वाकुलित उबारी, शरण आए वाकुलित उबारी, संत पधारे, संत पधारे, संत पधारे, पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे, कह कबीर संत भले पधारे, जन्म जन्म के कारज सारे, जन्म जन्म के कारज सारे, संत पधारे, पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे, पाग बड़े जो संत पधारे।
Under Huzur's guiding hand, the Dera developed rapidly over the next 40 years. From simple sheds, hostels, residential blocks, public toilet facilities were built to accommodate the growing Sangat. Roads, drainage, power and communications were introduced, and all this became the template for future growth.
Being back at the Satsang grounds, I noticed that the Shamiana tents had been replaced with a steel structure. We were informed that Satsangs still take place here when the Sangat is smaller. My mind was flooded with memories of Huzur. The joy of sitting in his satsangs, being lost in his words, his face, his smile, his soothing presence, it all came back to me.
I said, wherever you collect in my name, I'll be there. Master is always here at the eye center and every disciple. When you hold your attention here and do Simran, you are with your Master. Meditation is simple.
We just attend to it every day.
It's not in our hands how to adjust our karmas. It is in His hands. He knows best how to make us go through those karmas. You see, it's a lifelong struggle. We have not only to continue, but we have to continue for whole of our life in meditation. Master is never harsh to the disciple. Mother and father are never harsh to the child. They are always loving. There is love behind that punishment. Nobody can love the child more than father and mother.
And those who couldn't come, they are as dear and near to me as all of you sitting here. And you can give them my regards and love. Everyone is very dear and near to me. If you read the Bible, in the last probably chapter, Christ says, "It is expedient for me to leave you now." How can it be expedient for the disciple that his master should leave them, leave the body? He said, "No. Now you are so much attracted by my physical presence that you're always surrounding me. When you won't find me outside, then you will try to search me within. You will convert all this emotion and love which you have for me to meditation. And I have given you the way, I have given you the truth, which will bring you back to my level within, to my spiritual body within." So this emotion which we have within ourselves, this helps us to grow to His level, to be Him, to become Him. And ultimately practice will lead us to the real Master within, the radiant form of the Master. And that is real love, where there is no separation.
I asked Mr. Sethi from the administrative committee about the Dera at the time of Huzur's passing.
Have you ever seen a fish out of water? Can you imagine a pain experienced by a lover who has lost his or her beloved? These are nothing as compared to the physical separation of one's spiritual master, especially whose eyes were showering ever-growing grace, whose one glimpse satisfied the thirst of many eager and anxious eyes.
I will never forget that day, the 1st of June 1990, when Huzur Maharaj Ji left this physical world. No disciple should ever lose his master. 2 days before he left us, Huzur Maharaj Ji dictated his will, appointing Baba Gurinder Singh as his successor. At the age of 35, with a professional background in commerce, he became the new master. At the Dastarbandi inauguration ceremony, we saw the present master for the first time. He was consoling us and carrying all the burden of grief on his shoulders. Who can explain the feeling of being lost and found at the same moment? Addressing the Sangat, the new master said that he did not consider himself worthy of the seva assigned to him, and that for him, he was just a particle of dust at the feet of the Sangat. With such humility, he told them that without the grace of Huzur Maharaj Ji, he would not be capable of doing anything. For over a century, the 5 Beas masters have continually developed the Dera. Over the years, it has transformed from a small colony to a vast community.
The daily routine at the Dera is completely different from the fast-paced life we are all used to. No distractions of electronic gadgets, no messages, no to-do lists. The master and the Dera were already waking me out of the dream of daily life. I began to realize that the spiritual adventure was my real life. Our mornings started early. At 7 a.m., I joined the crowd of people walking to Satsang. Those morning walks opened my eyes to the sweet simplicity and the deep faith of the people here. I saw an elderly man slowly making his way in the crowd. I asked if he was here alone and whether he needed any help. With a radiant smile, he said, "Alone? I'm not alone. The Lord is always with me. He brings me here every day." Still smiling, he went on his way.
Satsangs are discourses that are held every day at the Dera. In the past, Sangat from far and wide would come to Bhandaras, large satsang gatherings held in the memory of previous masters. Now, Bhandaras have been replaced with 19 designated satsang weekends each year, during which the master himself gives discourses. At these sessions, the population of the Dera suddenly explodes to 500,000. The whole Dera bustles with activity as people pour in from all over the world to see the master. At that time, all satsangs are held at this main satsang shed. The shed covers 34 acres and can seat around 400,000 people. Its roof is built using a light steel space frame design and is one of the largest roof structures in Asia.
As the Sevadar guided me to my seat, I recalled reading that the first satsang shelter was the Namghar. It was there that Baba Jaimal Singh once told a disciple who was sitting in the front row, "One day, the Sangat will grow so much that you will not be able to see the last row." And just as he had predicted, row upon row of loving faces filled this vast area, reaching far beyond what the eye can see.
The last row is about 600 meters from the stage and from there the master is just a speck in the distance. Yet everyone feels grateful just to be in his presence. Large screens have been installed throughout the main satsang shed so that everyone, no matter where they are seated, has a clear and close-up view of the master.
Half an hour before satsang, during the main designated weekends, documentary films are shown to educate the Sangat on important social issues such as organ donation, female feticide, and women empowerment. The message was clear and simple that compassion, love, and respect are basic human values. And as children of one God, we all have a responsibility to care for one another.
जीवन का वर दो
The master was expected in a few minutes. How does one describe the anticipation of hundreds of thousands of hearts longing to see their beloved master? When he finally arrived on stage, it was a moment to behold. A silent exchange takes place, a heart-to-heart connection. No words are needed.
What do they see when they look at the living master? Maharaj Savan Singh once said, "A true master is a lover of God. In him, there are boundless currents of true love. To love him is to find the most important medium for developing love for God."
This is darshan. Only he exists. As long as there are two, he is not. When there is one, only he is. Huzur Maharaji often said that darshan is the helplessness of a lover to look at the beloved. There is no thought, no desire, no expectation. It consumes the heart of the lover, leaving in its wake a deep yearning for union with the Lord. I was moved by the discipline and devotion of the crowd around me. The Sangat listened to the Master in pin-drop silence.
Even the non-Indian Sangat benefits from these satsangs because all the Hindi and Punjabi discourses are simultaneously translated into English and many other languages, such as Indonesian, Thai, French, German, Greek, Spanish, Bulgarian, and Czech.
Is that the only benefit of the true name?
ต้องการที่อยากจะ tan pronto que nos asociemos con la compañía de un maestro verdadero.
Et dans les prochaines lignes, Guru Sahib nous dit:
The Master spoke about the teachings for 1.5 hours with simplicity and clarity. His discourse was profound. With every word, he was reminding us of our real objective. Every Saturday during the main weekends, the Master gives his Sangat an additional gift of darshan. Back in the 80s, Huzur would come back half an hour after Satsang. He would take his seat on the dais, and from that moment, the Sangat would inch forward, carried by the current of his love. It was hot, it was crowded, but we just wanted to see him up close for a few precious moments. It's what we lived for, and nothing else mattered.
This system went on for several years after Huzur passed away. Then, when the present master saw a tremendous increase in the size of the Sangat, he made a change. It was clear that he could no longer bear to see his beloved Sangat struggle to see him. So, he did what he always does. He took away the difficulty. Now, instead of the Sangat coming to him, he goes to them. Right after Satsang on Saturday, the Master sits in an open car and quenches the thirst of each soul as his eyes scan every aisle, every face. After witnessing this outpouring of love, one cannot help but wonder, who is the lover and who's the beloved?
One morning after Satsang, I saw a long queue of people. There must have been thousands. I later found out they were applying for initiation and waiting to be interviewed.
Initiation is not a ritual or ceremony. It is when the disciple is given the method for realizing God while still living in the world and fulfilling his worldly responsibilities. Initiation is the great turning point in the life of the disciple. From this moment on, his inner journey truly begins with the guidance of the Master every step of the way.
The day I was initiated will forever be etched in my heart. When I stood in front of Huzur, I was nervous. I knew I wasn't worthy of this precious gift. It felt as though he looked right into my soul. And then he accepted me. It was the happiest moment of my life. On weekend afternoons, we attended a youth question and answer session, which was open to the whole Sangat. I was surprised to see so many youngsters present. How fortunate that in today's chaotic world, they have a living master as their anchor and guide. For the first 20 minutes, a few young people were given the opportunity to sing shabads in the presence of the master. They were then invited to ask him questions. Some questions and answers were so heartfelt. Some were hilarious. The flow of affection and laughter between the master and the youngsters created an instant bond between them. It lifted the hearts of the whole Sangha.
ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਕਾਮ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਕੋਈ ਫਲ ਦੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਬਟ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਥੋੜੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਇਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ
I had never experienced anything like this. In spite of the huge crowd, there was this rare opportunity for young people to have a one-on-one interaction with a living master. Like his predecessors, the present master was adapting to the needs of the time. He was reaching out and nurturing the Sangha of tomorrow. Being in the present master's company and witnessing his humility reminded me of Huzur.
Once, a newcomer asked Huzur Maharaji, whenever we go to saints or religious leaders, they expect us to bow to them. This is the only place where I have seen a master bowing to the disciples first. Why is this so? Huzur replied, I am the servant of the Lord, and the Lord is in everyone.
On weekday afternoons, a section of the pandal was converted into a small movie hall where we went to watch Huzur Maharaji's question and answer videos. Even those who couldn't understand English were watching so attentively. I knew, like me, many of them were reliving memories of our beloved Huzur.
And thank you for the laugh.
Brother, I have said so many times, I don't know whom you are thanking, because the institution belongs to every satsangi, every seeker. So we all one big family, and you can thank each one of you. See just one another, that's all. I'm nothing to be particularly thanked for. It belongs to every satsangi. They are the host and they are the guest.
In spite of his heavy schedule, the master gives his time to sincere seekers who have a genuine need for spiritual guidance. The Public Relations Office interviews all individuals who request a personal meeting with the master to ensure that their questions are genuine and of a spiritual nature. Most evenings, the international guests meet in the auditorium for a short satsang, followed by a question-answer session with the master. The meetings are held in English and simultaneously translated into different languages.
Towards the end of the week, we attended a question and answer meeting for non-resident Indians. This session was truly unforgettable. The master gave us undivided attention to each person and their question. His answers were full of positivity and possibility. My heart was filled with gratitude. I kept repeating the words in my mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
मेहरदा एक दरिया वगदा जेदा नहीं कंडा आर पार कोई ना दिल तकदा ओनू हैरान होया जी बा सकदी शुक्र गुजार कोई ना तेरी मेहरदा एक दरिया वगदा जेदा नहीं कंडा आर पार कोई ना.
Every aspect of the Dera provides a model for the way of life of a disciple. The Dera is not just a place. It is a life experience, a blueprint for building a life of balance. We went to see the old Dera, the heritage square, which has been preserved and refurbished. Being back here where Dera began brought back many precious moments spent with Hazur.
Dera was a cluster of a few houses. If you would go out of the great master's house, just a little outside there used to be a gate, and the whole of Dera used to be inside that gate. I remember that this road outside was not a tar road, it was a stone road. In those days, Maharaji used to walk all the way for satsang, and we children used to first stand outside Maharaji's house to have his darshan. And while he was walking and talking to people, we were walking with him. We would run to another place, run ahead to the satsang ghar or somewhere and have his darshan again. Also, right outside here, what used to be the old library, there was a small place where I remember as a kid listening to Huzur Maharaji's satsangs. So you can imagine in those days, the Sangat was barely 150 or 200 people. And there was a small place where Huzur Maharaji used to sit and give discourses. And if there was a larger number of people, then the satsang would shift to the bigger satsang ghar. Throughout the development of Dera, I have seen over the last 5 decades, it still has the same warmth, the same sense of love, the same sense of belonging that I felt when I first came and Dera was just a few buildings. This is obviously the ongoing blessing and grace of all the masters.
We went to see some of the many facilities available here. Starting with the langar, the Dera's free kitchen.
Baba Jaimal Singh used to say that whichever place the saints choose to live, they have to start a langar for the Sangat, as people who come cannot go without food. By Huzur Maharajji's time in the 1950s, the langar could serve 3,000 to 4,000 people at one sitting. But the Sangat was growing so rapidly, there were days when people had to wait into the early morning hours to have their dinner. Huzur Maharajji therefore called a meeting with his committee to discuss expansion plans for the langar. He wanted to seat at least 20,000 people at one time so that everyone could be served in 2 or 3 sittings. To create the space needed for this, his idea was to fill and level the deep ravines so that a large plot of land could be used for the langar. Hearing this, the committee rejected the idea, saying that such an enormous task could take 10 to 12 years to complete. But Huzur was not worried about how long it would take. His concern was the Sangat's convenience. And so, Huzur announced the new seva of carrying baskets of soil to fill the ravines and level the ground. It soon came to be known as Mitti Ki Seva. For the first few days, the seva took place so slowly that even 10 years seemed an optimistic estimate. But Huzur Maharajji came to the site regularly, and his presence was a powerful inspiration. More and more enthusiastic volunteers joined in. There were days when as many as 10,000 sevadars did Mitti Ki Seva. It has been said that love can move mountains, and this was the case with the Dera Mitti Ki Seva. Little by little, basket by basket, love levelled hills and filled ravines, and in less than 2 years, the langar was completed. Once a disciple sitting with Huzur during Mitti Ki Seva pointed out that some people were carrying huge loads while others had hardly a handful in their basket. He asked, "What is the use of their seva when they carry so little?" Huzur answered, "It is not how much one carries that is important, but the love and devotion with which the seva is done."
Through this seva, about 5 million cubic feet of earth were moved in a year by human hands to level the land and provide space not only for the langar, but for satsang grounds and buildings. The master could have easily requested for heavy equipment to accomplish this task, but he wanted to create a seva opportunity for all of us. Everyone joined in. In his seva, we were all one family, one being. It was truly a unique experience. Today, with my own eyes, I can see what had been accomplished through Huzur's grace, through the loving service he inspired in all of us. We all left a part of ourselves here in this piece of land, and I was so grateful that he had made me a part of it. An elderly satsangi compared Mitti Seva to our meditation. He said, just as countless little baskets of dirt can eventually fill a huge ravine, every moment of our meditation fills us with more love for the Lord and eventually transforms the landscape of our heart from a wilderness to a beautiful garden fit for Him.
Over the years, the langar has continued to expand to provide meals for the ever-growing Sangat. Today, the langar covers an area of 48 acres consisting of cooking sheds, office blocks, storage facilities and eating spaces. Food is served here daily, free of charge, all year round. It is open throughout the night with only a short break in between. The langar today has the capacity to serve 50,000 people in one sitting and a total of 300,000 people per meal. This means that at full capacity during lunch and dinner, the langar is capable of serving over 500,000 people, the population of a small city.
Enjoying my langar meal brought back memories of the old days when I used to come here. The langar is an experience that shines in your memory long after you leave.
The great master would tell his sevadars to serve food to the Sangat generously, wholeheartedly and with affection because, he said, Baba Jaimal Singh's treasure is inexhaustible. This principle still stands true today.
Sevadars filled our empty plates with dal, chapati, rice, and vegetables. We were offered as many servings as we wished. The only request was that food not be wasted. As people finished their meals and washed their utensils, every space that was vacated was quickly filled, and on it went. It was a perfect metaphor for the endless flow of the Lord's abundance and grace. The next day, we visited the other food outlets. When the very first Bhojan Bhandar opened, as children, we were very excited. Throughout our childhood, there were only 3 shops which provided tea and snacks. And suddenly, this very organized Bhojan Bhandar opened, which served complete meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Today, there are 4 Bhojan Bhandars, 2 snack bars, and 4 canteens, where one can purchase meals at subsidized prices. These food outlets have a combined capacity to serve 200,000 people per meal.
Shelter for the Sangat has always been a significant concern for the masters. In the late 70s, the accommodation department consisted of a long table and a couple of chairs across from the Satsang. Today, it has grown into a large and efficient operation.
Accommodation at the Dera has always been free and all are welcome. The accommodation department is open 24 hours all year round. Requests are also received online from centers around the world. There are various types of accommodation available. The Sangat was growing faster than accommodations could be built, so huge sheds and sarais were erected to provide shelter for the Sangat. Sarais accommodate 18,000 people and sheds provide sleeping space for 81,000 people. Each complex has its own provision store and dispensary. Over the past few years, many hostels have also been built, providing over 5,000 beds for the visiting Sangat. All international visitors stay at Hostel 6, which can now accommodate up to 600 people at a time. Meals are prepared in the hostel's own kitchen. Guests who want to do seva are welcome to help in the Hostel 6 compound.
That evening, I met some international visitors and asked what the Dera meant to them.
I think as a seeker, satsangi, you never feel quite at home anywhere in the world. There's something about Dera in that way that there's no other place in the world like that. You're around brothers and sisters that you have so much in common with. We have this same, you're well aware we have that same Father, and we're in His home, if you will, at His feet. Everywhere you go, you greet everybody, Radha Soami, and instantly there's this connection that you have with them, and our connection is that love for the Master and that becoming one with the divine.
I think very wonderfully someone had asked Babaji, why is it that you allow us to come to the Dera? And he said that it is to actually see the love, to see the Sangat, to see the people, how they share and give through seva and their quality of devotion. And by seeing that, he said, then you too, can learn to live your life with that devotion.
I think Babaji said once that you get what you come to Dera for. So if you come for seva, or if you come to meet people, you will get that. If you come for love, if you come for grace, you will get that. So Dera is, whatever you choose it to be. Another incident that really affected me too was there's a couple of staircases here. You would be going behind some BBGs, some older women, and it was so hard for them to place one foot, to the next step and the next step. But with each step, you could hear them whispering, Shukriya ji, thank you, God, thank you, God. And it was just, again, that reminder to feel grateful for everything. Everything we have is due to Him. And where would we be without His grace?
The masters have always ensured that all sevadars and their families have suitable housing. The houses which were built in the 60s became impractical to maintain. So, modern homes are now being built to provide better quality housing for the 7,000 people who live here. Everything we need is available here. Not only does the Master take care of us on a spiritual level, He also sees to our physical needs. We have tailors, barbers, a post office, well-established banks with ATM machines, phone booths, and a non-profit cloth shop for residents. There is also a petrol station and a motor garage where sevadars service and repair Dera vehicles. This department also arranges different modes of transport for the Sangat. Dera also has its own cremation ground and immersion point. It has its own water supply and sewage treatment plant, an electrical substation with a 100% backup generator. More recently, 21 acres of solar panels were installed on the roof of the main Satsang shed. There is a Lost and Found Center located in the Seva Samiti building. In the same vicinity is the security building where Sevadars monitor the safety of the Sangat. A computerized railway booking office from where the Sangat can purchase train tickets to anywhere in India. And a fire station where approximately 300 Sevadars have been trained to handle emergencies.
The provision store, which was located in a mini shopping complex, appeared small, but it sold all the basic necessities.
The requisitioning, storing, and distribution of supplies for the various departments is handled by the Central Stores Department. There is also a purchasing department that sources all Dera requirements from food to building materials.
At the books, audio, and video stall, there were Santmat books, question and answer CDs, Satsang DVDs, and photographs of the masters available for sale. I was told there were around 90 books on Santmat in English, and even more in Hindi and Punjabi. Hazur always encouraged us to read spiritual books. He would tell us that it was one of the ways we could build a fence around the crop of our meditation.
The publications department has developed considerably in recent years, with sevadars working together to present the Santmat teachings. With the increasing number of seekers overseas, Santmat books are now available in over 44 languages.
In the early evenings, I enjoyed spending time in the library. Built in 2004, the library is modern, spacious, and can seat 300 people. I fondly remember spending hours in the small cozy library back in the 80s. Now, there are thousands of books on mysticism, religion, and philosophy. One could easily spend months here in this large research center on spirituality.
Within the library is a book restoration department where sevadars conserve, repair and maintain rare books, journals and manuscripts. Great care and attention is given to preserving these old texts. Next to it is the archives department where valuable old records are preserved. These records are now being digitized so that future generations will always have access to the history of the Dera. There is also a reading room where daily newspapers, magazines and Santmat publications are available to the Sangat.
Even the children here at the Dera are so well looked after. In the evening, we watched them playing sports at the recreation center. There were so many facilities available. Watching the children play, I wondered about their schooling.
In April 2014, a school called Path Seekers was opened. Qualified teachers have been employed to provide a high standard of education to children ranging in age from 18 months to 14 years. All children living at the Dera or at the residential quarters of the Bias hospital are eligible to study in this school free of charge. There are plans over the next few years to expand the school to 12th standard.
Wonderful. Snow White was very beautiful. Everyone loved her. But you know, something sad happened. The queen died.
हमने lemon juice add करना क्या करना है? Lemon juice. We have to add lemon juice.
What are your plans? Good. Very good.
Please help us.
मनिंदर हमारी मदद करोगे ये टर्निप निकालने में? तो आप वहाँ पे हमको पुल करो।
आप किसी के
नीचे खड़े हो जा। मनिंदर, हाय। अभी मनिंदर पुल, किटी पुल। What is this? Car. Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan.
Sports news. 13-year-old Malawat Purna becomes youngest woman to scale Everest. Thought for the day is, does God want our work or does He want our love? He wants that we should work for Him in love.
It was hard to believe that such a school existed at the Dera. Not only were children given a modern education, but they were also taught important life lessons, like caring for others and the environment, and having mutual respect for everyone in the family, in school, and the community. The focus here is on being a good human being. There is a separate hostel for the elderly and retired residents. In today's world, the elderly are often given little attention, sometimes even neglected. But here, it is different.
This Nature Cure Clinic, originally founded by Huzur Maharaj Ji's wife, Mrs. Harjeet Grewal, provides naturopathic treatment for Dera residents. Over the years, it has expanded its facilities, providing a gymnasium and yoga classes.
I recalled that the old Dera hospital once stood next to this clinic. It was now relocated to a newer, bigger facility, which was a 10-minute walk away.
The new Dera hospital was built in the year 2002. It is a 2-story building covering an area of 32,000 square feet and provides medical care to residents as well as visitors. All patients are treated free of charge. During the main Satsang weekends, around 4,000 patients register daily. Patients can choose between allopathic or homeopathic treatment. Physiotherapy and dental care are also available.
It is often said that loving care is the best medicine for the sick. In the service of their master, the doctors and nursing staff give each patient compassionate and individual attention.
For sevadars, their families and all Dera residents, annual medical checkups are offered free of charge in a week-long medical camp. Doctors and specialists from Beas and all over India provide extensive health screening, such as thorough lab tests, ECG exams, dental checkups, and hearing and vision tests. For preventive care, medical seminars are also provided.
Watching the doctors serving the patients reminded me of Hazur's words about the Dera eye camp.
And we are grateful to the patient that they give us opportunity to serve them. So that makes us happy. That makes Sevadar happy.
The eye camp, which was held at the Dera for 15 days every year from 1965 until 2003, provided free operations and treatment for eye diseases to all, whether satsangis or not. Hundreds of doctors and nurses from India and overseas used to take time off from their work to serve. Approximately 145,000 eye operations were performed over the 38 years of the eye camp. The joyous highlight for the Sevadars and the patients was when Huzur made his rounds, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, to visit the patients and ask about their well-being.
And at that time you see 2 results, after breakfast as well as after lunch.
See, they need lot of care.
Yes.
Thank you.
When they saw him, they completely forgot their pain. Hazur had so much love and compassion. I realized how in the midst of all our pain and suffering, it is the Master's presence that brings us hope and comfort.
With the growing number of eye patients seeking treatment, the eye camp was eventually discontinued and patients were sent to the Bias hospital for free medical care. The Beas Charitable Hospital is the compassionate vision of Maharaj Charan Singh, inspired by his great desire to provide free medical care to the rural community without their feeling obligated to visit the Dera. In 1978, a 35-acre plot of land approximately 6 kilometers from the Dera was chosen as the site. When the intention to build the hospital was first announced, even before the initial design and planning phase, offers to help flooded in from Sevadars all over the world. Ultimately, 75% of the workers consisted of Sevadars. Very few had construction experience, but all were given the opportunity and guidance needed to be part of this labor of love for the Master. Energized by his grace and inspired by his compassion for those in need, Sevadars worked together year after year with tireless enthusiasm to make his vision a reality. From preliminary design through final construction, Huzur Maharaj Ji himself lovingly guided every step of the way and visited the site regularly. He advised the architects and landscapers to design a simple yet beautiful building in a serene garden setting to offer a sense of welcome and comfort to the local people. Still today, one feels a gentle wave of grace and tranquility the moment one enters the hospital grounds. The Maharaj Jagat Singh Medical Relief Society is responsible for the administration of the charitable hospitals established in Beas, Bahota, and Sikandarpur. During major calamities in India, the Dera has often provided relief and aid to the victims. In 2001, after the Gujarat earthquake, Sevadars gathered from all over India to construct 69 schools in 69 villages. Engineers, architects, doctors, and carpenters volunteered their time and worked tirelessly from morning till night. The construction work began in May 2001, and with the Lord's grace, this project was completed within 5 months. When the work was done and a sevadar was asked how he felt, he replied, "It was a life-changing experience." After the earthquake in Jammu and Kashmir in 2005 and the heavy floods in Leh in 2010, hundreds of sevadars volunteered to build insulated, weatherproof community sheds, free of cost for the victims. The masters have always advised that we should help those in need unconditionally, without concern for who they are or what their spiritual beliefs might be. By their own example, the masters lead us into lives of greater and greater compassion and oneness.
In the 1980s, when disturbances broke out in Punjab, many homeless people fled to the Dera. At this time, Hazur Maharaji arranged for a camp to be set up with a temporary school for the children. When India was at war in 1965 and again in 1971, the Dera became a safe haven.
During the partition of India, the great master opened the Dera gates to all Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, Satsangis and non-Satsangis alike. Hot meals were sent to the Beas station for all transit refugees. The great master was deeply touched by their stories of suffering and loss and took care of everyone with great sympathy. It is said that this was the first time anyone ever saw a tear in great master's eyes. He told his Sangat never to look upon anyone as their enemy and reminded them that to hurt anyone's feelings was a great sin.
Hearing these stories and seeing so many facilities and activities at the Dera, I wanted to know more about what goes on behind the scenes to create such an extraordinary level of discipline, order, and cleanliness. For instance, after Satsang, security sevadars are present everywhere, guiding the flow of pedestrians and countless buses, cars, scooters, and bicycles. The smooth and easy movement of such immense crowds is proof of the careful attention to detail that goes on in every department.
Mr. Sethi from the Administrative Committee gave us a few words that put everything into perfect focus.
Every brick that one sees in construction, every leaf of the tree, and every blade of grass, and every speck of dust reflects only one thing, that is love. The love of the masters for their Sangat and love of Sangat for their masters. Our financial resources are donations only. But every penny of Sangat Seva is well accounted for and utilized for Sangat in a manner that seed of their love grows. Most importantly, the masters of Dera Bias live of their own resources and lead an exemplary moral and spiritual life, which itself becomes a role model for the Sevadars as well as the Sangat to follow. This forms the basis of worthy management of such a large infrastructure and system.
The uniqueness of the Dera is that it is run entirely by sevadars. About 1,500 permanent resident sevadars manage the Dera throughout the year. But when the Sangat numbers in the many hundreds of thousands and many more sevadars are needed, a phenomenon occurs. A great wave of devotion sweeps into the Dera in the form of up to 35,000 Jatha sevadars from neighboring villages and states. There is no compulsion for anyone to serve. They come of their own accord. They ask for nothing. And their only desire is to serve. They happily work for long hours, often in extreme temperatures. The light shining in their eyes comes from the joy of serving, in giving one's self away with no thought of reward. Huzur Maharaj Ji described their devotion.
Love makes it go, to be very frank, because we don't have any paid people to work. Neither the paid people can work with so much devotion and love. And they know what are their duties, what are their requirements supposed to do, and we just watch them. Because we have only a handful of sevadars in the Dera, but on such occasions they all come from different directions, in thousands as you are seeing them, and they take to their own duties. And wonderfully they are serving the people, looking to their requirements, their needs, and they make us feel that probably we are doing it. They don't want to even assume that they are doing it, but they do it beautifully, serving. And after the Bandara will be over, they will just pack up those things, put them in the stores, and will just go back to their homes.
When sevadars are asked why they do seva, they will only smile. Huzur Maharaj Ji would often say, happiness lies more in loving than in being loved, in giving than in receiving, in serving than in being served. Their enthusiasm, their devotion to serving the Sangat defies description. They are relentlessly driven by the love of the divine. They are renewed by it. The entire atmosphere of Dera is charged with their energy of loving service.
We experienced this energy when we went for Brick Seva. Brick Seva takes place all year round and is open to everyone. Here, damaged bricks are broken into small pieces to be used as fillers for future construction projects. It was so inspiring to see the young and the old all sitting together. It brought back fond memories. Great Master said, construction work will constantly be going on at the Dera. How true that is. All around the Dera, there is always something new being built or restored. and sevadars are always available to help. Both skilled and unskilled, men and women working side by side to build these simple but beautiful structures. The Dera is self-sustaining. It produces most of its own building materials. Every single brick for construction is made at Dera's brick kiln.
The first brick kiln was constructed during Baba Jaimal Singh's time, when bricks were needed to build the well. In those days, the kiln took 6 to 8 weeks to bake bricks. Today, the Dera kiln, which is compliant with environmental standards, produces approximately 50,000 bricks a day. The tiles used for the houses, hostels, offices and sidewalks are produced in-house at the tile workshop. Other building materials are produced at the carpentry, hardware, paint and iron workshops. This is called Luk Seva or road tarring seva. Around 1,000 sevadars come together for this extremely challenging task of building and resurfacing the roads. The tar is produced in-house at the hot, wet mix plant. The plant is controlled by a fully computerized panel installed in an air-conditioned cabin. Road tarring seva has to take place in the hot summer months when temperatures soar to 48 degrees Celsius because the heat flattens the tar more evenly, creating smoother roads.
I asked a sevadar how this seva is done in the sweltering heat. The answer was, he gives us the strength and energy. In seva, the impossible becomes possible.
The Dera today covers a total area of 1,900 acres. The engineering department is responsible for all construction and maintenance projects, but the master is the real visionary. On one occasion, during a site inspection, the committee presented the master with their drawings and plans for the future expansion of the Dera. When the master studied them, he said that their plans were good for only 10 years, whereas he was looking at the needs of the Sangat for the next 50 years. He is the real architect and inspiration behind all new construction. Under his guiding hand, new projects are continually being designed and developed at a rapid pace. But the Dera isn't about its infrastructure or buildings. It is about developing the virtue of humility within. The masters often explain that physical seva is just the means to an end. Seva cleanses our mind so that we can withdraw our attention and attach it to the shabd or word within. And this is our true seva. Hygiene and cleanliness are given high priority here at Dera. Each one of the thousands of lavatories and shower facilities throughout the colony is washed and sanitized daily. All the streets are swept clean. You sometimes wonder How is it possible? Who does it? When do they do it? Starting as early as 3 in the morning, even during bitterly cold winters when temperatures fall to 2 degrees Celsius, the sanitation sevadars can be seen washing, cleaning and sweeping. During the peak months, more than 1,000 sevadars are assigned to this seva.
We were fortunate to meet the sevadar in charge, who gave us some background in the sanitation department. His liveliness and vitality were contagious, and it was clear that this attitude had spread to his entire team.
मेरे माता पिता ने नाम दा लिया ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਡੇਰੇ ਸ਼ਿਫਟ ਕਰ ਚਲੀਏ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਹੁਕਮ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਾਬਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬੇਟਾ ਡੇਰਾ ਕੋਈ ਇੱਟਾਂ ਪੱਥਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਿਆ ਡੇਰੇ 'ਚ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਅਸੂਲ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਡੇਰੇ ਦੇ ਅਸੂਲਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਰਹੀਏ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਡੇਰਾ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਡਿਸਪਲਿਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਅਸੂਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਡੇਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਦੂਜੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਵਰਗਾ ਹਾਲ ਜੀ ਬੜਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਜੀ ਭਾਗਾਂ ਵਾਲਿਓ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈ
Their attitude sets a shining example for all of us. They believe that the Dera is a gift from the Lord, the home where our Master resides. Who then would not want to keep it clean?
These sevadars taught me that just as the Dera is lovingly cleaned every day, the most important task of cleansing the mind through meditation must also take place every day.
Here, care for the environment is vitally important, so nothing goes to waste. Facilities are provided so waste can be easily sorted. Sevadars make regular rounds picking up trash, which is then sorted for recycling. Biodegradable waste such as the organic solid waste from the langar and fruit stalls are converted into compost. Waste from the Dera's underground sewage lines are sent to the oxidation ponds for conversion into fertilizer. All non-biodegradable material such as cans, plastic, glass and newspapers are either sold or sent for recycling, which is collected by the scrap department. Empty milk cartons, for example, are used for growing seedlings. This is the nursery, where flowers, shrubs and trees are grown then replanted, not just within the Dera, but even beyond the gates. 60% of the Dera is allotted to green areas. Throughout the year, Jatha Sevadars can be seen nurturing and maintaining the vibrant Dera landscape. The lawns are so inviting that very often families are seen relaxing on the cool green grass.
The beautiful colors of nature are a constant reminder of the wondrous gift of God's creation. Seeing the beautiful flowers, I recalled what the present master recently said. He told us how Hazur used to love roses. And then he said that all of us were Hazur's roses, and that he was given the seva of being the gardener to look after us.
The Dera farms cover about 1100 acres, and the fruits and vegetables grown here are mostly organic. As much as possible, treated water from sinks, drains and showers is used for irrigation. Rainwater is also harvested for various uses. During the peak weekends, more than 7,000 Jatha Sevadars come and work on the farms. Whatever is grown here goes to the Dera food outlets and fruit and vegetable stalls for residents to purchase. The Seva Samiti department handles the management of the agricultural products along with many other activities.
It was amazing to see the amount of work that goes on in the kitchens of the different food outlets. But what impressed me the most was the amount of seva that went into the running of the langar.
Huzur Maharaj Ji used to tell us that one of the main objectives of the langar was to increase love and equality by providing an opportunity for sevadars to serve others. In the langar of the masters, there is no rich or poor, no high or low. During the busiest weekends, up to 15,000 sevadars served in the langar. In the kitchen, there are over 30 huge vessels for cooking dal, vegetables and rice. Each vessel can produce up to 2,000 liters. The sevadars prepare about 360,000 servings of dal every 3 hours. There are also 4 massive containers for making fresh tea. Each one is able to produce 1,120 liters of tea every hour. When the tea is ready, it is automatically distributed to different areas through insulated stainless steel pipes. On the main Satsang sessions, the langar serves around 80,000 liters of tea a day. This is equivalent to about 350,000 cups of tea. Modern automated equipment has been designed and installed to meet the Dera's needs. Wheat is stored in 2 silos, each with a capacity to hold 2,000 metric tons of grain. When flour is required, wheat is conveyed from the silo to the flour mill, where it is cleaned, ground and sieved. The flour is then transported through a conveyor system and placed in kneading machines to prepare the dough. The dough is placed into a peda making machine which makes 10 to 12,000 pedas or portions of dough per hour. These are then given to the sevadars to roll into chapatis. Wild grass, dry leaves and twigs are used as fuel for making chapatis. However, over the next few years, a thermal fluid heating system will be introduced for this purpose, as it works extremely well in other food outlets at the Dera. During the peak months, as many as 4,000 sevadars make chapatis. They start as early as 2 in the morning preparing breakfast for the Sangat, and they make up to 1 million chapatis per meal. Once the chapatis are made, each one is coated with ghee and then transported to a room where they are stacked, ready for distribution.
The seva atmosphere at the langar is something to be seen and experienced. The air is filled with songs of devotion, and seva flows in an endless stream, day and night. During a question and answer session, Huzur Maharaji spoke about the dedication of the langar sevadars.
must have witnessed so many ladies cooking. You see how much they cook just by the side of the fire. In winter it is all right. Imagine the month of June and July when it is so humid and hot. You can't see the fire, you can't sit near it, and yet they cook even more than what we have witnessed now. And yet they are so happy, so contented. The spirit to serve, the Sangat is always there with them. It's all Babaji's grace, you see.
One afternoon, in the 1990s, heaps of twigs caught fire at the langar, causing the emergency alarm to go off. The flames quickly spread, creating a blanket of thick smoke. The Sangat was having lunch when they saw the fire. Many ran to get buckets of water to extinguish it, while fire engines rushed to the scene. In the midst of all the commotion, they saw Babaji standing on a haystack near the blaze, directing the firemen and the Sangat as they fought the flames. He stood there for almost 3 hours until the last flame was put out and he was sure that the Sangat was safe. By the Lord's grace, no one was injured. The Master is an ocean of love and mercy. On one occasion, he actually said, "You may be able to get a master like me, but I may not be able to get sevadars like you." One can only bow down with folded hands in gratitude that in spite of our unworthiness, we have a Master who guides us at every step of our spiritual journey, who gives us the strength and encouragement to realize the true purpose of this life. It is we who are the fortunate ones.
साजनड़ा मेरा साजनड़ा निकट खलोड़ा मेरा साजनड़ा जानियड़ा हर जानियड़ा नैन अलोया कट कट सोया अत अमृत प्रिया गूड़ा निकट खलोड़ा मेरा साजनड़ा.
For the sevadars, the fuel that motivates them to work so tirelessly is one precious glance of love from their master. It is this moment that they long for.
On one occasion, a disciple thanked Hazur Maharaji for allowing her to accompany him to the langar darshan. She had been overwhelmed by the great devotion that flowed between the master and the sevadars. Hazur Maharaji lovingly responded, "It was rather an experience for me than for you to see that love. It comes from within their hearts." And then he said, "The Master lives for such love." One night after dinner, we went for a stroll. We were surprised to see so many people sleeping outside on the lawns. We were explained that even with the abundant accommodation available at the Dera, and more being built every day, at peak times, the overflowing Sangat always exceeds the capacity. But no one is turned away, and nothing stops more and more Sangat from coming to the Dera. They are happy wherever they sleep and never complain. I envied those few dedicated souls who were wrapped up in their shawls, sitting in meditation, in spite of a possibly long day of seva or travel.
The Master often says how pleased he feels when he sees disciples obediently sitting in meditation, despite the noisy surroundings. He reminds us that they are the true disciples, the true sevadars, who are fulfilling this supreme seva.
There is no doubt that life here at the Dera revolves around the Master. But I began to wonder, what is it like when the Master is not here?
In November 2013, the Master left the Dera to undergo several months of medical treatment. It was announced that all scheduled satsangs of the Master in Beas and India were cancelled until February 2014. This was shocking news because satsangs had never been cancelled during the present Master's tenure. Normally, Dera in December is a vibrant and happy place, but that year it was somber and empty. It felt as if the life and the soul of the Dera had gone. But we accepted his will. We carried on with our seva, satsang, and our meditation, just as he had asked us to, and with a stronger love and dedication than before. As the days went by, even though the longing to see the Master grew stronger, everyone said the same thing. He wasn't here, yet he was. He was with us in our longing, in our missing him. Huzur Maharaj Ji explains the value of separation.
Somebody asked Meera was in love with her Guru. He says, why don't you forget him? You are so miserable and so unhappy in separation. He says, don't take this love from me. Take anything from me, but don't take my love for my Guru. I appreciate this separation, then giving it up. There's a pleasure in that love. And at no cost the lover will like to be out of that pain of separation. Christ said, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall get comfort. He said they are blessed ones, who are yearning for him, who are in love with him, who being separated and day and night, you see, are being consumed in his love. They are the blessed ones. No union is complete without a separation.
When the master finally returned to the Dera, the Sangat was relieved and elated. We forgot our lonely days. We were blessed in his absence, and now we were blessed with his presence.
अब तो है जानना देऊ राम प्यारे बहुत दिनन के बिछड़े हार पाए आगे बड़े खार बैठे आए अब तो है जानना देहु राम प्यारे।
Dera Baba Jaimal Singh is a unique place where we are given the rare privilege to explore our true spiritual nature in the presence of a living master. Everything here is given freely and for one reason only, to support our spiritual practice. The only way to express our gratitude for our time here is to do our meditation, to be sevadars of the soul. If we don't attend to this sacred seva, we miss the very essence of the Dera, the master and their purpose in our life. The masters are selfless servants of the Lord. Out of their boundless love and humility, they tirelessly give of themselves to free us from the cycle of birth and death. It is because of their guiding light and the Lord's infinite grace that the Dera has grown to be what it is today. And it is for this reason that the legacy of the masters lives on.
दास तिहारो तारी जाति कुजाति प्रभु जी मो पर कृपा
I was deeply grateful to the power within that led me back to this special place to spend time in the company of the Master. I had come here feeling empty, and I was leaving revived and renewed. I would strive harder at my spiritual practice and fulfill the promise I made to Huzur at the time of initiation. I had one earnest prayer, that I could keep the Lord's presence that I now felt in my heart when I returned to my life in the world. I felt a pang of sadness as the bus pulled out through the gates, but Huzur's words instantly came to mind.
Why leave the Dera? Why not take it with you? You built your own Dera within yourself and keep it with you always. Dera is not made of brick and mortar. It is the love and devotion by which we are affected, and that you develop within your own self.
तू ही ओ है मैं नाही वे सजना तू ही ओ है मैं नाही तू ही ओ है मैं नाही वे सजना तू ही ओ बुल्ला शौक कर आया मेरे जिंदड़ी कोल कुमाई बुल्ला शौक कर आया मेरे जिंदड़ी कोल कुमाई जिंदड़ी कोल कुमाई वे सजना तू ही ओ है मैं नहीं तू ही ओ है मैं नहीं वे सजना तू ही ओ है मैं नहीं तू ही ओ है मैं नहीं वे सजना तू ही ओ